Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
I'm so tired, and actually I don't feel good at all.
Are you gonna be okay?
We'll see. I don't know what this episode is gonna be like. I feel like it all just hit me. But I also just weirdly wanna go play with my castle. That's all I want to do is play with my castle.
I mean, I get it. You can do it after.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
This isn't it's not like do the castle now or never again.
Oh boy. For those listening, it was my birthday last week. And Kristen and Will got me probably the best present I've gotten since I was 12 at Christmas at my grandma's house.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. We fell into Legos after we did the Lego movie, and we got the little Ultra Caddy. And I've always kind of liked Legos, but I never fully went down that rabbit hole. And so Kristen decided to start me off with the holy grail that is Cinderella's castle.
Hey, look. I was trying to be nice. Maybe it backfired for both of us. Time will tell.
Now we have we have a new, something has awoken. Hello everybody, I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. On today's episode, I don't know what this episode is going to be like. I'm tired. There's a lot going on.
I'm tired.
Yeah, but personal stuff. And I just barely got it in me. So we're going to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And hopefully it is for a sufficient amount of time. And the things that we say are amusing enough on your commute to work. So
yeah, let's see.
Did I say Once Upon a Time? I was about to say.
You said Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Okay. I was going to be this is my least favorite of the spinoffs. I prefer Wonderland.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. How do we go about this? I didn't open up the descriptive thingy.
I don't know, honestly. Let's see. A fated television actor and his stunt double strive to achieve fame and success in the film industry during the final years of Hollywood's golden age in 1969 Los Angeles. Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's kind of accurate.
I would say that is what the movie's about.
Well, I think there's a couple things for me about this movie, and the first is that it also is following Sharon Tate in the months leading up to her murder.
So we're going to go ahead and just throw down the hardest of spoilers. I have a feeling this is going to be a more casual episode of ours, and we're pretty much going to just be talking about everything from the get-go, because I wouldn't know what to say about this movie, and I still don't. And I reached a point where I thought this thing's got to be 40 minutes from the end, and I checked my watch, and we were an hour and 10 minutes in, and I was like, oh, fuck. And so it's
there's still an hour and 40 minutes left.
Yeah. Having said that, I wasn't hating it. I was amused more or less by what was happening. Mm-hmm. But I was having a hard time identifying what exactly it was I was watching. And so what I was going to compare this to is Bad Times at the El Royale.
Okay.
It wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be like, so much so that I'm completely thrown as to whether or not I liked it. I don't really want to watch it again, but I feel like I would need to in order to see.
Sure, and honestly, that's the reaction I've seen from tons of people on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, basically, there was so much going on, and I could, identify it as a Tarantino movie, but I can't decide if it's one that I liked or one that I didn't.
As of now, and my brain is fairly clouded, but as of now, I don't understand the point of it. I don't understand its purpose. I don't understand what it was trying to say, and I believe something, but...
What was the purpose of Inglourious Basterds when you walked out of the theater? What did you think the purpose was?
Oh, boy.
I mean, is that something that you can answer, or does it does it only have meaning to you now after you know that you love it?
I enjoyed Inglourious Basterds immediately.
Okay.
There was, for lack of a better word, there was a sense of glamour through a lot of Inglourious Basterds.
That's fair.
I think the life and death stakes of it were more immediate to me, dealing with, like, Nazi Germany.
Sure.
In a way that I had a hunch we were dealing with life and death stakes here, but I couldn't imagine to what end.
Mm-hmm.
And you also kind of have to sit through 2 hours before you get to the point of the movie.
Yeah, I will agree and say that it as compared to something like Kill Bill, which has action and death and
right out of the gate,
whole time, this is definitely less stakes. And honestly, I don't know what's happened to me since I was, 12 when Titanic came out, but I might not love Leonardo DiCaprio anymore.
Oh, really?
I don't know what it is. I've liked him so much in things, but I feel like I don't like his personality as a human, and I feel like I don't like any of the roles that he's chosen in like a good long while. And there were parts in this performance that worked for me, but if it's like Will said and he wins another Oscar for this, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I feel about him the way that I felt about this movie, where it's like, and it's not even indifferent because there was a slight fondness to it, but it's sort of I recognize that he's a great actor. I recognize that people love him. I recognize that he's good at what he does, but I just don't really care one way or the other. And I'm just sort of like, okay. And so I was far more interested in Brad Pitt.
Same.
And again, not that DiCaprio or his character were bad, but I just didn't find them as interesting. And that's why I'm like, I want to watch it again, or God forbid, someone just explain to me what I was supposed to get out of it. Because I'm sort of like, I either wanted to watch a movie about, what was that movie called? Was it not The Other Guys? Because that's with Will Ferrell and with Ryan
the Nice
Gosling.
Guys.
Yeah. I either, that to me would be like if they put, it would be like if they randomly had like Jane Mansfield's death in The Nice Guys, and it's sort of like I either want to watch one or the other. Like, okay. I don't really know why they're merging in this way. And I mean, I'm doing that thing where it sounds like I didn't like it, and I mean, I guess I didn't like it. I'll say that, but I didn't hate it, and I'm willing to hear people out. Does that make sense?
And that totally makes sense, and I do agree with you. I feel like the movie was kind of disjointed. Like, if you wanted to make a movie about, if you wanted to make a revisionist history movie about the Manson murders, then do that. And if you wanted to make a movie about an aging, Western star from the 50s trying to like find his way in the 60s and 70s, then do that. But like, why are you doing both those things halfway?
Well, and I mean, I get that Sharon Tate was supposed to represent innocence and like the glamour of Hollywood, like the ingenue, the up and coming before she's been like tarnished by reality. Like, I get that. But there's also, it's just like, Roman Polanski's in this movie because he was actually her husband. And so it's like there's already a weird, uncomfortable stink over a lot of it. And I mean, maybe I'm explaining exactly what Tarantino was trying to...
Honestly, who knows? If I had to guess, I think Tarantino probably still reveres Roman Polanski, so I don't want to really speak to that. Yeah,
probably from an artistic standpoint, but it's like, knowing who her husband and he was the baby's father, right?
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like a,
Yeah, okay, there's a couple layers of stink over it for me, and that is definitely one of them. And the other one is that Emile Hirsch is in this movie, and he has had his own problems. And I don't know if I don't know when he got cast or whatever, or like when this happened or blah 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 whatever. I wish he weren't playing Jay Sebring, especially because, to my knowledge, there was no illicit relationship going on between Jay Sebring and Sharon Tate. They were just friends, and he was her hairdresser friend. I don't know all of that, so honestly, and I don't really care, but they made it feel like they were having an illicit relationship, and I didn't really care for that. In addition to that, I do wonder if maybe this was kind of an indictment of Roman Polanski, like what maybe you are supposed to extrapolate what maybe happened if Sharon Tate didn't die. Did Roman Polanski not have like the pain to fuel his art, and did he not maybe go to that party with Jack Nicholson and shit?
That's,
you know what I mean?
a whole big yikes, though.
Exactly. I don't know. I mean, that's just like, that's where my mind went while I was watching it, where I was like, is that maybe like a tiny thing that he put in there? I don't know. But it was like, also, I shouldn't have been thinking about that.
Yeah, and I mean, the title, quite frankly, does help me, because Once Upon a Time, in and of itself, is like, it evokes, like, it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
So immediately you're sort of like, okay, this is a fantasy of reality. And so I guess is what I wish is it's not so much that Sharon Tate wasn't in it, but if we were going to do that, then I guess I wanted others. Like the stuff with, was it Bruce Lee?
Yeah.
That was really funny. And so in that case, I'm like, well, then can we get like Lucille, like aging Lucille Ball in here, and like a couple of other like infamous, you know, like where they cross paths with these kind of legendary Hollywood figures in this,
Sure.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I was like, I could tell that this movie would not, I don't think he was ripping off Pulp Fiction, but I could tell that this movie was like striving to be Pulp Fiction with the kind of nonlinear timelines and the kind of vignette storytelling, but he didn't lean into that enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of disappointing, because I feel like if it had leaned into that a little bit more, and also there was like a little bit of narration at the beginning and then a lot of narration at the end and no narration in the middle, and it's just like, it was very inconsistent all around. And again, it's definitely not my least favorite Tarantino movie, but it's definitely not my favorite either.
Well, from where I am now, I just don't understand the point in a way that, like, because I think you were, wise is a weird word to say, but I think it was interesting that you asked me about Inglourious Bastards, but I had a much more immediate, like, sense of enjoyment watching the movie. Like, my tension was more real, my laughter was more real, my, like, fear was more real, and I thought the characters were and I mean, I can't say more interesting, but it's like, and this is Tarantino. You already said nonlinear, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, like hell, Inglourious Bastards. It's like, you know, we get a scene in this year and then a scene in this year, and then it's like, okay, we pick up and drop into the story whenever we see fit. But it's like 2 hours of this movie is presumably like a week in February of 1969, and then the last 40 minutes of this movie is like
September 1969. Yeah.
And I mean, I liked the elements. I liked Brad Pitt, and I liked Brandy.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Brandy was my mom's dog's name.
Oh, fun.
And even the stuff with like the food, because at first I was like, that's too much food for that dog. But then I was like, well, he's feeding her twice a year, so then she needs that. But yeah, I think I wish that it was like Forrest Gump with these dudes just stumbling into infamous Hollywood scenes, like,
yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't know,
because I liked the stuff. I really liked. I just liked Brad Pitt. I just wish this was about Brad Pitt, because Brad Pitt. I think I said Bad Pitt.
Either or.
Because his stuff with the hippie girl. Which one was she? She was great.
She was great. Her name was Pussycat, or was it just Pussy?
Pussy. Right.
No, Pussycat. Margaret Qualley. She was in The Leftovers.
Okay, she was really great. She was very. I was just drawn to her. I was very captivated by her. And there was some legacy in here, too. We have Harley Quinn Smith. We have Rumor Willis. We have Maya Hawke.
Yep.
Were there even more? Well, I mean...
that was all I noticed.
Dakota Fanning, even though she's not quite legacy, but...
Oh my god, she played Squeaky Fromme, and it was amazing!
That part was really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, that I was into the seduction she had with him in the car, and then going to the camp, compound, whatever.
Compound,
and
probably best.
Like, and also, like, I mean, I guess it's not that I wanted Charles Manson in this, but part of me was like, why was he even in it? Like, why did he come to the house weirdly? And then
I did want it. Well, and that's true. They, like, their
I know
friends
they staked
used
the house.
to but their friends used to live there. Here is the thing. I don't know how much I actually realistically want to watch a legitimate movie about the Mansons, but this movie was billed to me by the media as like a revisionist Manson murders movie. And I was sort of thinking that Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio were going to be like the John Travolta and Sam Jackson of this movie. If we're thinking about Pulp Fiction, where it's like about them but not, and there's lots more going on, but there's really not lots more going on.
It's just the two stories.
Yeah, and I am definitely with you. I could have 100% dealt with this movie being about Brad Pitt and the Manson girl, and like more about the compound and Squeaky Fromme and like all of that kind of stuff. Like that could have been way more interesting to me.
And I mean, it was a stellar cast, although Tarantino is great with his ensembles, and everybody that was in it was great. I was a little baffled as to the billing order, because there were, a lot of people billed up front, and I'm like, I'm not angry about it, but I have no idea why Luke Perry is like an above the line credit in this, because he's in one scene.
Yeah.
And on top of that scene was a showcase for Leonardo DiCaprio. Or even Damian Lewis, he's in that one scene at the Playboy Mansion, and
he was poorly cast in this movie.
It was very vignette-y. And again,
but I wanted it to lean into that more.
Exactly. I was like, well, if that's what we're doing, then drop the narrative.
Yeah, for sure.
Because make it, what is that episode of Simpsons? It's like 22 random stories about Springfield.
Yeah.
Where they all tie together by like one thing, but just a series of random scenes in Hollywood or something. Because I get that it was supposed to be a send up to Hollywood, but it was a send up to a very specific type of Hollywood. It was very masturbatory. And I mean, I realize that we're dealing with Quentin Tarantino.
Well, and this is also like the most masturbatory time in film history for him. Like, these are the movies he grew up on. And so it's like, I get it. I for sure get it. And like what he was going for. And I'm sure that this movie is exactly what he wanted it to be, but it's not entirely satisfying to me.
So, well, I guess we didn't actually talk about the ending. I don't know how you would ever watch a movie about the Manson murders, because you're a Manson girl. You've read Helter Skelter. It's like your murder origin story.
It is. It is, honestly, and I will say, fun story. We ran into a couple of friends tonight, Dan and Jamie, and I worked with them both at my very first job here in Orlando. And while I was there, I had a lot of downtime. I probably shouldn't have had a lot of downtime, and I'm really sorry, Dan, for piling extra work on you. I was not good at that job. But I read Helter Skelter while I worked there, and it literally terrified the shit out of me because my back faced the door and everything, and I was frequently there completely by myself. And one day I was just flipping through the book, and I flipped right to Charles Manson's mugshot, and it was terrifying. I screamed by myself in the office. So yes, I find the Manson murders fascinating, mostly because there was next to no motive for why they chose the people and what they did. It was just random. They would go sneaking through neighborhoods and just pick people and then kill them. And it was bizarre.
Well, you were so tense when the scene was actually starting. So how you would watch an entire movie, I don't know. We should have watched The Haunting of Sharon Tate and paired that with...
A hard pass. No, Andrea made me watch the trailer. I think it looks
so
terrible.
Cringy. It's so cringy.
And I'm like, Hilary Duff, you're better than this.
She really is.
She really is. But regardless, I find it super fascinating, and I'm okay. You were right, we spoiled from the beginning, but hard spoilers. I'm glad that they didn't kill them, obviously.
Sharon.
Sharon and her friends, because they killed all of them. So I'm glad they didn't kill them, and I like the wish fulfillment aspect of this, because that part is very much like Inglourious Bastards, where it's like, this is the way it should have gone, essentially. Like, it should have been a blaze of glory in that instance. And here, she should have been able to have her baby and be happy and be an actress and, live the rest of her life. It's a horrible tragedy that she died. However, something about it still didn't land right with me, having them survive. It was just, for whatever reason, it was like too neat of a bow.
I was like wondering, because I knew there was going to be revisionism, but I was like weirdly wondering if like Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt was going to like accidentally kill her or something. Like that's what I was sort of prepared for.
Sure.
The actual big confrontation scene with like the hippies and Brad Pitt was something to behold. The movie is not very violent at all, and then it's the most violent for like 5 concentrated minutes. It's like a shot of grenadine. Like,
I want to say that is more violent than Reservoir Dogs.
Is it really?
It's more bluntly violent, I guess, because there's a lot of like gunshot wounds and stuff in Reservoir Dogs, and the ear thing, obviously. But this was a lot of blunt force trauma to the head and dog attack bites.
Yeah, it was strangely, for me at least, because I mean I was very aware that I was living in a fantasy of a fantasy, but it was like I was finding it strangely cathartic, and it was kind of striking. They're just such bad people. And
the hippies?
Yeah. And so it was kind of striking watching Brad Pitt beat 2 women to death.
Yeah.
But also to be on his side.
Well, he only beat 1 woman to death. The other one...
She was conscious for too long. Like, comically too long.
It was comically too long because I fully spit laughing when she flew out the door with all of her limbs akimbo and into the pool, wildly shooting the gun and screaming, and she scared Leonardo DiCaprio and everything. It was
funny. It was so over the top that really laughter was the only appropriate response.
That might be the funniest thing I've seen in a movie this year. It took me all the way out. Meanwhile, stop.
Brad Pitt is tripping balls through the whole scene, and so that also takes the edge off. It was
okay. Maybe that is something that I wish would have been upplayed a little. Like what? Like couldn't, or maybe it's too silly. I don't know. But couldn't we have seen this from his perspective, tripping balls? Because he was way too competent to be tripping balls.
I think it was muscle memory on his part, but
that's fair. But still, it's like we didn't see anything like through his eyes, so like I forgot he was tripping until the knife was in him and he touched it and was like, "That's weird."
But again, also, it's like the roles that all of the women in the movie played, I honestly found interesting. You know, we're not really talking about Quentin Tarantino. We don't know him. There's a lot of things that can be said good and bad about him. I think that he writes women well.
I think he writes women relatively well.
So some women, and they certainly suit his world.
Yeah.
These women all the women in this were sort of like, well, accessories, but also
they're like ciphers. There's nothing on the inside.
Well, and it was like they were all tending to like the men and stuff in this way that it looked like they all represented things.
Well, in complete fairness, all that is how the Manson women operated. But aside from that, I feel like
Zoe Bell was like the nag, and I mean the way that the little girl had to prop him up and stuff. It's like there was a lot of women propping the men up in a way that I'm fine with, because I was talking to Will. Okay, I can hear myself, but it's like I don't want it all the time. But I was talking to Will the other night, and we were talking about that reporter that kind of like accosted Tarantino at Cannes, asking about Margot's presence in the movie, and I thought that her question was kind of pretentious, and his response was like doubly pretentious, and it was just like a whole bunch of like, do you remember?
Just a pretentious circle jerk? No, I did never read it, because I know that he's a jerk, and I don't care, because I generally think that his movies are, and I understand how this is going to come off, but I truly mean it in a sincere way. I believe his movies are works of genius for certain people, but so I don't like to know about him as a person, because if he's just kind of a dick, that doesn't so many male directors are just kind of a dick and we let it slide. Why are we not letting this one slide? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think he's more than just a dick, but it like the point I was trying to get at is it's like Quentin Tarantino very frequently directs very blatantly from the male gaze, and we're in a period of time where that's sort of like enough already.
Right.
But I said to Will, where I was like, it doesn't stop the male gaze from existing.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a thing. Like, it's like, sure, it's been overrepresented in art and history, but that doesn't mean that it's also not a valid perspective sometimes. And so it's like,
sometimes, yeah. I'm
fine with a damsel in distress. I'm fine with a wife by the refrigerator if that's what the story dictates. And I would need to think about this more and probably see the movie again to actually finish my thought. I mean, I'm having this is in real time. You know what I mean?
I get it.
I'm trying to piece together what I just watched and what it meant to me, but it's like we're kind of given this information that maybe Brad Pitt killed his wife, and we see a precursor, like we see a scene where she's being a nag and he's got like a harpoon, but we don't actually see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this movie again, but I feel like I would need to be honest. Like,
I could agree with that. I if there's something that I could say that sort of encompasses my feelings about the whole movie is that I liked it, but I liked the idea of it more than the execution.
Yeah. And I have that reaction sometimes, and I think you do too. And sometimes I have to allow a movie to become what it is versus what I wanted it to be.
Right.
And then decide if I liked it. And so, I mean, this could be something that could take me 2 or 3 years to figure out how I feel about.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, there's nothing to be done about it, but I think that the, like, film community does movies like this a little bit of a disservice because I don't think this was marketed as what it is. And I know I was not expecting what it turned into, unfortunately. And I think that that's kind of a problem. But at the end of the day, also, I can't
imagine what an average, like an average moviegoer would think about this.
No, I can't either. But that's I think the crux of it is that in my opinion, Quentin Tarantino does not make movies for the average moviegoer. He makes movies for himself, and they just sort of happen to be popular.
Yeah, I was going to say, he somehow seems to be so, if not accessible, mainstream popular. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's kind of like what we talked about with Game of Thrones, where it's like there's usually, tits and violence. Maybe that's what gets Joe Blow in the door. And frankly, I think comparing this to Game of Thrones was kind of apt, but...
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because that was also something that, we didn't hate, but it did not equal any expectation that we had for it.
If I didn't already know and like Quentin Tarantino, I would hate this movie. I wrote that down like 30 minutes in. I think because I know, here's where I wrote the note. I said this movie is interesting in how it treats the women and the roles they play in others' lives.
Mm.
And even in each other's lives, how women treat other women.
Yeah.
We got feet.
We did get a couple of feet. Three sets of feet.
Yeah, I'm not even mad. They were all dirty though.
Yeah. That
was new. Does that mean anything?
I don't know. I have a couple of things. The first is that I thought, I wrote this down relatively early, I thought this movie would have been way better if Rick and Cliff were boning. Way better.
I'm not gonna lie. There was a point where I was like, and I was like, no. And I thought it was just me. I figured, okay, but I mean, I'm not surprised you were there too, but
no, I was definitely there too.
The thought crossed my mind.
So the other thing I wanted to say is that there was the moment where Leonardo DiCaprio, Rick, was explaining the, like, Western pulp novel that he was reading to the little girl on the movie that he was doing. Yeah. And it was about a guy named Easy Breezy.
Mm-hmm.
And how he's, like, basically, he hurt himself. He was, I don't know, he was like a I don't know, whatever, some guy in a Western, and he hurt himself on a horse, and now he was like over the hill and he wasn't as good as he used to be. And I was like, oh, cool. That's mirroring your exact story. Funny how that's happening. But then I thought about it for like an extra minute and I was like, is this maybe like a meta commentary on Quentin Tarantino himself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that how he feels about himself? Is that how he thinks we feel about him? Is that why this is going to be his last movie? I doubt it.
I thought they were already filming Kill Bill Volume 3.
I don't know. I have no idea. But I did like that. And so it was like moments like that, the moments that he had with that little girl, the moment where she came up and was like, that's the best acting I've ever seen. That was hilarious. There were a lot of moments that I really liked, but they didn't cohere into something that makes sense as a whole.
And at least not that I understand right now. Maybe I'll get it. I mean, maybe somebody's listening to this and are like, oh my God, you guys are such idiots. Like,
so stupid. Please let us know on Twitter how stupid we are about this movie if we are completely missing
I
the
feel
point.
like I'm almost there. And I mean, I had forgotten, I think I just saw in like a blip that this was his quote unquote last movie. And so something about the Sharon Tate ending, if this is his last movie, makes a little bit of sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's obviously other stuff you can like maybe read into it. Like, was that the moment the like American Hollywood dream died or something?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, is it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I have a note that I just called. I just called all the girls in the cult Haim.
Not no. I think Haim is a little cleaner than all the girls in the cult. I did also want to say the girl that sold Brad Pitt the acid cigarette, that is BB from Kill Bill. Her daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. I was looking at her like every single time and I was like, who is that? I know who that is. And then finally I was like, oh my God, that's exactly who she is.
Interesting. There was a couple, because apparently Drema Walker was in it and I didn't recognize her, but...
Oh, yeah, that's fun. She might have just been one of the girls and you can't tell when they're...
Mm-hmm.
When they all have that hair and they're all standing there together and they're all dirty.
And Victoria Pedretti was in it, and I kind of wanted her to have a little bit more, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't have hated if she had a little bit more,
He cast her in this because of Hill House.
Oh, fun. Well, I wish he'd given her something to do.
Mm-hmm. And also Austin Butler was there.
Yeah, yes, he was.
So, I think I'm good. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it.
Hi to Kayla from season 6 of So Think You Can Dance.
Yeah, she's in that scene where he's dancing on the like variety show or whatever.
Just that one scene. I don't know why I thought she was going to be like we were going to see her, but I was like, no, that's it. That's it. So, okay.
Alrighty. Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingTheShow. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr. So I'm watching this show. Anything for the playlist? Probably not. No.
Oh God! I mean, if I can find that song from the trailer, because I can't stop singing that. But
oh, okay.
Oh yeah, no, I knew there was another one. The Snoopy versus the Red Baron.
Oh, right.
We've talked about that one before on this show.
Yes, we have.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more.
Well, then, other than that, you can just follow. Shit. I lost myself. You took
just
too long.
Shit.
Just shit.
Shit a brick. We're done.
Oh my God, you guys. Just go leave us a review, please. Okay.
It would be really helpful, actually.
Goodbye.